How's it going, everyone? It's Barman Dan here, and we're starting up this tournament right now. As soon as that bracket goes up, everything should be looking good. And here we go. So first I need to move on iSynthetic, so Bioforsaken. Whoa, alright, actually, let's just disqualify iSynthetics. Okay, so Bioforsaken gets a nice, easy win to go on to Antigua Shipyard. And let's get into the game. So good job, everyone there, and for checking in, who did check in. And I'll get everything started here. The first match looks like it's going to be cast, or I'm going to cast, is going to be Jay Lansby versus Matt Squirrel. So it's going to be a PvZ, it looks like. So actually, I am retarded and don't know what the first map is. It's going to be on Shakura's Plateau. So Shakura's Plateau it is. So I will create the game. And the other player is going to be, what is his username? His username is, whoops, it is NZZT Splinter 317. So let's see if he's in the chat. He is not in the chat, so it looks like I'm going to have to add him as a friend. And it looks like I can't invite him to the game. So I'll try to invite him here. And he was in a quick match 1v1, which is kind of odd. But this is going to be game number 1 of the tournament, and it's going to be NZZT Splinter against Jay Lansby for the tournament. So maybe he has to download this map, and that's why it's going to take him a little while. So yep, we're just going to have to wait a little bit until he can load, and then we'll get this on the way. So just waiting for him to join, and there we go. So here we go, a Protoss versus Zerg PvZ on MLG Shakura's Plateau. To start things off, this map has a very easy natural to get, very accessible by both players, and pretty easy to defend, being so close to the main, yet also just a little gap here that you can build spine crawlers on or wall off if you're good at Forge Fast exam. So we have Jay Lansby, our Zerg player, spawning in the top left-hand spawn, and NZZT Splinter, I'll just call him Splinter for right now, spawning at the top right-hand spawn. So let's just get this thing started. Yeah, as I said again, this map has a very easy natural to get. So if the Protoss player wants to Forge Fast expand, get a little wall off going here, he can do that easily. And the Zerg player build a couple spine crawlers, will just as easily be able to get that natural. The third, though, is going to be a little bit of a problem here for Jay Lansby. He has to decide whether to expand forward, a risky expansion that opens him up a little bit more to attacks, or it has to expand kind of far away here over towards the other spawn, the bottom spawn, and we'll have to secure that expansion. Though with expanding here to the third, it is rather easy to get your fourth up here, so long as you have a little bit of map control. And some nice creep spread will really change that up, make it a lot easier to expand to. So other than that, it should be a fairly decent game. We have the Protoss player going for that Forge Fast Expand. So pretty standard build here, and it looks like Jay Lasney is going for that 10 pool. It looks like maybe even earlier actually. He could have messed up on that Overlord there, and it could have originally been a 10 pool, but it might have been even earlier than that. So Jay Lasney going with some very early Zerglings here. And it looks like it's going to be 6, so some very early aggression here, and that might have actually been a 6 pool there. So NZZT Splinter does have a wall off, so a good scout there. He's going to see it, but he doesn't have a cannon going down. He needs to get that cannon up very, very quickly, or else those Zerglings will be able to walk right into his base. The Zerglings are going out now, and what will NZZT Splinter do? Looks like he's going to keep a probe there at the natural of Jay Lasney's. If he can hold off this cannon rush, he might just be able to get some cannons down and prevent him from expanding to his natural and really push him back. But these Zerglings are coming across the map really quickly, and there's only a probe here to stop them. So this cannon might not be done, and Jay Lasney might be able to just walk into his base here, and it looks like that's actually just going to happen. The Zerglings are going to get some couple good hits off. There's going to be a Zealot popping out soon, but the Zerglings going to surround on that cannon. They could just kill it, and it looks like it won't. So the Zerglings are just going to go walk into the main. There are going to be a lot of probes being pulled, but the probes are going to decide to engage, and they might be able to just clean this up here, but that is quite a few probes lost. Going to the units killed, it is going to be 6 Zerglings killed, and of course 6 probes killed. Right there, so quite a couple probes killed there by Jay Lasney, but Splinter did manage to hold it rather well and has a pretty decent wall or fortification here to hold on. And Jay Lasney getting, I think maybe an expansion denied there for a little bit, but looks like he's going to be going for that expansion about 300. And that's the problem that you have with these best-of-1 tournaments, is you see all types of cheese, and it's a little detrimental to the game, because of course you don't know who the better player is in the best-of-1, maybe not even a best-of-3 situation, where the opposing player really isn't having all their best games. So you never truly know who is the better player in these kind of situations. You really need quite a few games to kind of determine that. So good hold by Splinter, keeping himself in this game. It looks like he's actually going to be throwing down that Cybernetics core instead of a Nexus. So he's going to be going for that early tech rather than that economy. He already is ahead, quite a bit ahead on tech, as Jay Lasney is going to be put very far behind by that 6 or 7 or 8 pool or whatever it might be. Going to further delay his layer tech that he's going to need here soon, and honestly, could have to go for another expansion here soon, but doesn't have the minerals to do it. So a little detrimental there for Jay Lasney, as he will not be able to break this nice fortification that Splinter has for quite some time here. So we'll just have to see what either of these players do. Jay Lasney scouting around with this Zergling for any proxy pylons. So good play there, just making sure that he is in a safe position here and can expand without too much pressure. But Splinter not getting his expansion down here that soon, has going for that double gas here, so it looks like he might be going for more of like a tech build or something of the sort, because he is running very heavy on gas. It might not even expand, might kind of bake and expand and kind of maybe do some sort of one base all in. And honestly, Jay Lasney would be very vulnerable to that. He would have to make a lot of spine crawlers and a lot of Zerglings just to hold on. But it looks like there is some sort of talk going on in the chat. I'm not quite sure what that's about. But anyhow, Jay Lasney getting an Overlord in the base, not seeing too much. I was going to realize that there's not really anything to worry about as of right now. There's not a lot of production. There's only 2 gateways, 1 being built, and there is no Nexus here. So Jay Lasney actually coming out a little bit on head of the economy here, has a natural almost fully saturated, so we'll be 1 base ahead of the Protoss player. So that the Protoss player Splinter really needs to think about getting that expansion here rather soon. And Jay Lasney right here is going to scout that there is no Nexus, is going to realize that he might have to worry about some sort of one base push. And will there be spine crawlers? There's going to be a spore crawler going down. So it looks like Jay Lasney thinks that there's going to be some sort of air play. There were 2 assimilators taken, so there is room for a lot of gas. And as we see, there's a 500 gas bank right here. But there are 2 sentries warped in to sort of clear that up, and there looks like there is a nexus being taken. For Jay Lasney, he's not expanded to his 3rd base yet, but is starting that layer tech right now, probably to try to get that spire up here soon, just in case he has to deal with air or not. There are spore crawlers down here, and actually they might have been more concerned of sort of a DT rush here. The one is in a position to cover the mineral line, but that also has sort of the range to deal with any Dark Templars there. So, you know, he can combat both air and DTs, basically with that spore crawler being there, so he has vision there. As for Splinter goes, he really doesn't have all that much. If he would have gone with either a heavy kind of gateway build and done some one base play, or gotten that Nexus up a lot sooner, he would have been a little bit of a better position than he is now, having neither a Nexus up yet or a lot of production. But we do see a huge worker transfer over. So it looks like this base will be up and running very shortly. And it looks like Jay Lasney here is deciding to stay on 2 base here. Might be going for some big 2 base play, but really needs to think about getting that 3rd now that his natural is fully saturated. And having that extra queen there is going to allow him to spread his creep with that creep tumor and get that 3rd base up and running as soon as he can. But the Splinter still isn't really doing much. We don't have really anything on the map. We're going to get a robotics facility, so that's going to be the first step in this tech play, so it looks like it will be Robo. It could be Immortal play, some 2-base Immortal against these roaches, but really, he needs to get up maybe another robotics facility and definitely more gateways to do really anything about this army. 2-base Roach can be deadly here with the ability to really get a lot of roaches quickly. But there is no macro hatchery to worry about, so the amount of roaches are going to be limited by the amount of larvae, and not really too much by the income there. But Jay Lasney is getting upgrades and is going to be getting +1 ranged first, and he does not have any other upgrades there, so only a single evolution chamber will be getting upgrades right now. But there is a second one to get those double upgrades here soon. And it looks like Jay Lasney is going to be taking a 3rd base here over at the other spawn location. And expanding his creep, he's not actually staying too active with his creep tumor, but needs to get that up and running soon so he can attach his 3 base so he can defend them very quickly if there's any threat of any Blink Stalker play of the sort. But there are going to be gateways being added, and it looks like a robotics bay here to go for Colossus. Colossus, not the best choice against roaches, but Colossus always good in ground combat. No matter what, even if they're not especially good against armored units, or do not do that much damage against armored units, they always just deal a lot of damage, and definitely enough Colossus can basically take out any ground army. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of robo play here. Immortal Stalker should be able to deal pretty well with the roaches. As for the Zerglings, they will actually be kind of doing a little bit of damage and soaking up some shots that the roaches won't be taking, and in return that should help the roaches out quite a bit. But Splinter, not having too much of an army here, has a lot of Stalkers, but not that much else, so a big push here could be some trouble for him, seeing that the supply is 108 to 68. But Jay Lasney there is expanding his creep and has a lot of creep tumors, so it looks like he was saving up some queen energy to expand his creep very quickly. And he does have his 3rd base up and running now, so he will be able to get all the economy he needs to start going and teching up to better units. As we can see, there is a Spire on the way for Jay Lasney, so it could be a transition into Broodlord. We might even see some Mutalisks for Harass, and Corruptors especially to take out this Colossus if he's spotted those. So the Spire being a very crucial part of the late game Zerg will be covered rather nicely there by Jay Lasney. And Jay Lasney just sitting back and deciding to macro up pretty hard. Has a Zergling at the 3rd of Splinter to kind of deny any expansion there, or to kind of delay it if he sends a single probe over instead of a Stalker or Zealot. But Splinter just kind of massing up on gateway units. Does have an Immortal and a Colossus, but needs quite a bit more Robo units to really push out, and doesn't have that many sentries. He only has 3 sentries. They do have full energy though, so those Force fields will, there will be a lot of force fields there, I think, for each. But he does need to kill this cannon, it looks like. Because the Immortal actually can come up, so he will not have to kill that cannon. But there's not too much of an army there for Splinter. Lasney, on the other hand, is going to be getting an Infestation Pit, so it looks like he could be going to that Hive Tech for those Broodlords. Maybe actually might stay at Infestor. Infestor play is so good against Protoss, as the Fungals do extra damage versus Armored, which is a majority of the Protoss race, and it looks like that third will be taken there by Lasney. It looks like there's going to be a push out here by Splinter. He only has one Colossus and an Immortal, but is building a proxy pylon along the way. Good position there for the Colossus. It's on the high ground, so there will be vision being needed there. But there's going to be a nice pincer there by Lasney, and a lot of force fields are going to be going down to stop a lot of these roaches from pushing out. And it looks like the Colossus might be focus fire down, so the Colossus will be sniped, and there's only remaining of Stalkers and Sentries there, so some good play by Lasney. Getting a nice round with those roaches, really preventing any of those force fields from doing a lot of damage there. And that was all of Splinter's army. So we're looking at 160 of supply for Lasney to 60s of Splinter. And Splinter not looking to be in the best position here. Needs to get that third base up and running, but really doesn't. His main is kind of close to mined out here. That nice probe transfer kind of prolonged his base from being mined out, but really 280 minerals in one patch is not a lot. And a lot of roaches and lings and some corruptors here, so it looks like a possibility of these corruptors going into Broodlords. But the corruptors right now are probably just to deal with these Colossus, as there are 14 more roaches being built, and there is a hatchery up here as a fourth for Lasney. So Lasney, almost near maxed army here, needs to move out and free up some of his supply here, so he can drone up his fourth, as well as kind of transition into a better, maybe Broodlord army. So it looks like he's just going to go forward here. Lose a little bit of his army, just see what Splinter has. And he's going to decide to move back, which is a kind of interesting position here. It looks like he's going to move back, make sure his base is secured here, so that way he can kind of secure a bank so that he can quickly get out Corruptors and turn them into Broodlords. Or something like that, but it looks like there's going to be pathogen glands on the way, so that's going to be very helpful for infestors. So it looks like it could be some infestor play, maybe infestor Broodlord. That is a very good play, or very good unit composition. And the Fungals doing a ton of damage, preventing units thrown away from the Broodlings, and they're oh so deadly. And it looks like there's going to be +1 melee, which does count towards the Broodlings, so it looks like it will be Broodlord play that he is up against. Splinter, on the other hand, does not have that much. He has a lot of Stalkers, but he does actually, have Blink, so good decision-making there by Splinter, but he has these Immortals that are basically dead weight, because there are a lot of roaches now, but even if he kills all the roaches, there is a huge economy advantage to Lasney, and he can easily transition into Broodlords, because there really isn't much that can deal with Broodlords. This isn't a good Broodlord army. The Colossus would be helpful, but the most ideal army would probably be Stalker, Archon with a mothership, of course. That would be the most effective, but Blink Stalkers are going to deal fairly well against these Broodlords, but Archons would just be the better choice, doing splash damage against ground. It can also attack air, rather than the Colossus, which can be attacked by the Corruptors and the Broodlings, and can attack air. So, not the best unit composition here for Splinter, and definitely not in the best position, being only on 2 base, almost mined out at his main. Needs to get that third up and running, but I just don't know what can happen. Nice play there by Lasney, getting Burrow, making sure his Zergling is burrowed here, so now he has to bring over an Observer, as well as the unit to kill it, so a Probe will not be able to take care of that by itself. It looks like there's just going to be mass upgrades going down for Lasney. So I'm not entirely sure how Splinter is going to deal with this massive army here. And it looks like there's a lot of Overlords over that army. I don't think we're going to see any sort of Overlord drop play. But I could be mistaken, as that is sort of a new thing in the metagame for Zerg. To get those roaches into Overlords, or at least half of your army, so that if there ever is any force field play, some Immortal push with a lot of sentries, you can drop your roaches on top of them. But it looks like there actually is going to be some roach drop play going on here. So a lot of Overlords being moved out. Hopefully there were more Overlords in production here. when these overlords do happen to die, or at least some of them die, it could be somewhat of a problem here. So it looks like Jay Lasney is going to bypass the entire army and go for a Doom Drop in the main of Splinters. He does need to free up some supply here, being on a bank of 5,000 minerals and 1,100 gas. He has more than enough to make quite a few Lings and Broodlords, and it looks like he's going to get that Greater Spire down now, but it hasn't been up for quite some time, as well as an Ultra's Cavern there. I do like that a lot. You can transition into both, and scouting both of that is not going to give Splinter the idea of what's going to happen. So there is going to be a huge drop in the main, and it looks like it's going to be a base race situation here. Splinter instantly supply blocked here, and the thing is, though, Splinter has what I would call probably a better army against straight up Roach. So if he can force the base race and not kill off any of Jay Lasney's full supply army, it could be a big deal here. But there's going to be a little bit of supply back here to be freed up, so it looks like some Broodlords could be here. But I'm not entirely sure how Jay Lasney is going to deal with that. He's going to make more Roaches. I don't know how I feel about that. If he would have gone with some Corruptors and maybe transitioned to Broodlord, it looks like there's going to be a lot of Roaches coming back to try to kill this army here. It is looking like to be an all-in there by Splinter, pulling probes and everything. There's going to be Roaches going up the ramp here, but I'm not entirely sure. There's going to be force fields up the ramp here. Jay Lasney still almost full supply. Needs to make units that aren't Roaches here. Roaches are not the answer to this army. He does have a lot of money in the bank, and definitely as the production here. We do see the Corruptors going down, and as long as they come out as before that Greater Spire is sniped, he will be able to deal with this. But saving these remaining Roaches would be a good idea here. An expansion here at this base is also a great idea. Having two bases fully mining, or sorry, 1.5 bases fully mining, opposed to Splinters, who really has nothing. Jay Lasney is probably in the better position here. He's going to go forward and snipe some of these Immortals here, which is a big deal for Splinter, because none of this will replace. Another Immortal will go down, and it looks like Jay Lasney is going to try to lose all of these Roaches, or see how much damage he can do, maybe to try to prevent any of these Corruptors or the Greatest Fire from going down. And there is absolutely no more Colossus down the field, so Splinter only has a couple of units remaining, and it looks like this could be a big deal. There is a Colossus on the way there for Splinter, but it could not probably make too much of a difference here. Jay Lasney has 6 Broodlords morphing in, as well as 24 Lings, more than enough to take out this army here. Definitely this is not a Broodlord, anti-Broodlord composition that he has. He has a handful of Blink Stalkers, but really these Roaches are going to be able to kind of defeat that, and a huge Roach swell for Jay Lasney. So I would have to say, Splinter, although he is doing a lot of damage here, will not probably be able to hold on, given that his bases are not mining at all. So, I'm not entirely sure what is going to happen here. It looks like Jay Lasney's army does get up the ramp. It gets a nice surround there on all the Immortals. All the Immortals are going down, and it looks like that will be it for Splinter. And there is the GG. So congratulations to Jay Lasney for taking game number 1 off of Splinter there. And looks like that will be it. So, yep. And Splinter has not left the game yet. Yep. So congratulations to Jay Lasney. A great game by both players there. And, yep. So looking at the bracket, it looks like Jack Knives beat Karukin, Jay Lasney beat Matt Squirrel, and it looks like FaZe have beaten Navanond, and Flench beat Mercury, and they're already playing now. So congratulations to both those players. Now I have to find out my character friend code. It's 595. All right, so 595. So there we go. So it looks like the next match is, I think I'll just stick with Jay Lasney here for this next match. Can I get there? Cool. So the next match is going to be between Jay Lasney and Jack Nyes. So it will be Valen 529, and I will invite them. Oh gosh, damn it! Was that on Antigua? Was I? Okay, so cool. That's on Antigua. And I will create game. And Valen will be the next person. It looks like this will be ZVZ. I'm not entirely sure why G. Lasney left. He said he had to upload, but I guess he had to get off or get out of this match. So stay tuned for this next match. It should be Valen versus Jay Lasney here, and it looks like it's going to be a ZVZ. I think. Yep, it looks like it's going to be a ZVZ. So it should be a pretty interesting game. Oh, okay, so 1 second. I just need to make sure that Succubus won. Sorry, his match. So there we go. And now we're gonna get this match started here. So let's get this thing ready here. It's going to be a ZVZ, so of course that little banter, so don't die to Banelings, because of course Baneling Ling is always a pretty common opening between two Zerg players. And it's really kind of a crapshoot, so it's like, well, if I go to Roaches, what happens if they get that nice Ling surround and I actually lose my Roaches? Because that can be somewhat of a problem there. So we have Valen, our light blue Zerg. So this is going to be sort of a problematic color clash here. And spawning the top left-hand corner of Antigua, and Jay Lasney, our blue Zerg, spawning the bottom right-hand corner in the Antigua shipyard. So, yeah, ZVZ, you know, it's kind of that crapshoot to see who will transition or expand first. Do I get that spine crawler? What if that spine crawler gets surrounded by Lings? What if those Banelings connect to my Lings? Do I waste my gas on my Banelings or go straight to like a Mutalisk play against Roaches? Or what if there's too many Roaches and they overwhelm my Mutalisks and I lose my base? So it's kind of that crapshoot play that's always in the mirror matchup, in like Protoss in a PvP. It's like, do I make Stalkers? What if he goes Immortals? Then should I just make Zealots? And same thing with Terran. Is it like, do I make Siege Tanks here? Or, I don't know. So this is MLG Antigua, but I'm not going to tell him. You can obviously tell by the supply depot at the bottom of the ramp, but I think his most mostly asking that for the cross spawn aspect there. So there are no close spawns on this. It's going to be cross spawn. So the Zone Logo Watchtower will have some play in this map, and who has map control will be pretty important here because if Valen spawned at the top right-hand corner, the Watchtower really wouldn't matter too much where G. Lasney spawned. So it looks like both players not getting their actually, it looks like G. Lasney is going to be expanding here very quickly, and then Valen is going to be a spawning pool. So G. Lasney taking a little bit of a risk not getting a spawning pool all that early, but